She stood on her parents' porch, 3 children behind her, a black garbage bag at her feet. She knocked on that door, the same door she had knocked on 1,000 times before, her own mother's house, her own father's door, and they closed it, right in front of her children. Her brother laughed. Her sister called her impulsive. She picked up that bag, walked back to her car, and whispered 3 words to herself. Watch what happens. Her name was Caroline. 18 months ago, she had what most people would call a decent life. Not perfect, not the kind you post about online, but decent. Stable. She had a house with a dishwasher that actually worked, a minivan with a cracked left taillight she kept meaning to fix, and 3 children who were growing so fast, it felt like she would miss an entire year if she blinked at the wrong moment. Serena was 9, serious, cautious. Already the kind of girl who reads the instructions before opening a box. Lily was 6, loud, wild, convinced she could fly if she just believed hard enough. And little Owen was 4, still small enough to fall asleep in his mother's arms. Still young enough to believe she could fix anything. Caroline also had Daniel. They had been married for 10 years, a decade, long enough that she had stopped remembering what she was like before him, which is something nobody warns you about. How slowly you can lose yourself inside a marriage without ever noticing it is happening. Daniel was not a monster. That would have been easier. Monsters are obvious. Daniel was charming, inconsistent, and fundamentally allergic to accountability. He never raised his voice. But somehow, whatever went wrong was always quietly, definitively Caroline's fault. She had worked part-time as a medical records coordinator. Not glamorous, but steady. She handled the house, the school schedules, the grocery lists, the pediatric appointments, the permission slips, the birthday parties, and the nightmares at 2 a.m. Daniel handled his career like a religion. Sales director at a logistics firm. Good salary, long hours, frequent travel, and somewhere inside all those business trips, he had found someone else. She found out the way many women find out, not through a dramatic confrontation, not through a private investigator, not through the slow, aching accumulation of suspicion. She found out through a phone left unlocked on the kitchen counter. 3 sentences. That was all it took. 3 sentences, and 10 years evaporated in about 45 seconds. She will not describe what the weeks after that looked like. Some pain is too specific to share with strangers. What she will say is this: they tried. Briefly, unsuccessfully. They attempted to hold something together that had already come apart at the seams. Daniel said the right things at first, the way he always said the right things. But something inside Caroline had shifted permanently, and his words no longer landed. They passed through her like wind through a screen door. By spring, she had filed for divorce. What she did not anticipate, what she genuinely, naively did not see coming, was what would happen when she told her family. She came from a close family, or at least she believed she did. Her parents, Margaret and Robert, had been married for 36 years. They were the kind of parents who showed up to graduations and school recitals, who called on birthdays without being reminded, who made you believe, without ever saying it directly, that family was the one thing that would never fail you. Her brother Nathan was 32, unmarried, still living in the house he grew up in, occupying half of it as a gaming setup. Her sister Brittany was 28, newly married, convinced that her 18-month relationship had given her a ADHD in what made marriages work or fail. Caroline called her mother first. She told her everything, what Daniel had done, that she was filing for divorce, that she did not yet know what the custody arrangement would look like, that she needed a few weeks, some breathing room, just enough space to stabilize. Could she bring the children and stay in the guest room while things got sorted? There was a pause on the line, the kind of pause that has an entire paragraph inside it. Caroline, her mother said, you know we don't really have the space. She wants you to understand something very clearly. Her parents' house had 4 bedrooms. Nathan occupied one, 2 others were empty. There was a finished basement with a pull-out sofa, a television, and a separate bathroom. Caroline had slept in that basement every Thanksgiving for the past 10 years. There was space. There was more than enough space. Mom, she said carefully, I have 3 children. I just need a few weeks. You need to think about this more carefully, her mother replied. Divorce is a serious step. Daniel is a provider. These things happen in marriages. You work through them. He had cheated. She had found the proof. She had not misread the situation, and yet somehow she was being asked to reconsider. She drove over the next morning, pulled into the driveway she had pulled into 1,000 times, walked up the porch steps she had run up as a child, knocked on the door of her own parents' house. Her father answered. Robert had never been a cold man, or at least he never used to be. But he stood in the doorway, and his face did something complicated when he saw her, like he had been briefed, like he had rehearsed exactly what he was going to say. "Your mother and I talked," he said. "We don't think it's a good idea you staying here, Dad." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "I have nowhere to go right now. I don't know yet what's going to happen with the house. The lawyer says it could take months. You could go back," he said. "Try again." Serena was standing right behind her, 9 years old, completely silent. Caroline felt her daughter's hand slip into hers. She held it very tight. "I'm not going back," Caroline said. "I need help. I'm asking you for help." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked past her at the 3 children standing on the porch. Then he stepped back slightly and said, "I'm sorry, Caroline. We just can't do it right now." And he began to close the door. Nathan appeared behind him just before it shut. Her brother, 32 years old, living rent-free in their parents' house. He leaned around their father's shoulder with a half smile on his face and said, "There literally is no space, Cor. You know how it is." He had an entire floor to himself. Caroline stood on that porch, and she did not cry. She wanted to. The feeling was right there, pressing against the back of her throat. But Serena was holding her hand. Lily had pressed herself against her leg. Owen had wrapped his arms around her waist from behind because at 4 years old, he could feel that something was very wrong, even if he did not understand what, and she was not going to fall apart in front of them. "Okay," she said. Just that one word. "Okay." Then Brittany appeared. Of course she did. Her younger sister materialized in the hallway like she had been waiting for her cue, arms crossed. Head tilted in that particular way she had when she was about to say something she had already decided was wise. "Honestly, Caroline," Brittany said, "I think this whole thing is a little impulsive. Daniel isn't a bad person. People make mistakes. You have 3 children to think about. Their stability matters more than your feelings right now." Their stability? As if Caroline had not been the one maintaining every piece of that stability for the entirety of their lives. As if she had not been the one at every school pickup, every fever, every nightmare, every first day and last day and hard day in between. As if she was not the very reason there was any stability at all. "Thank you for your input," Caroline said. Her voice was very, very even. Brittany shrugged, like Caroline was being difficult, like she was the problem. Caroline picked up the garbage bag at her feet. She buckled 3 children into a minivan with a cracked taillight, and she drove away from the house she grew up in. She whispered 3 words to the windshield, to the empty road, to no one in particular. "Watch what happens." They spent the first night in a motel 30 minutes outside of town. It cost more than Caroline wanted it to cost. But it was clean, it had 2 beds, and the children, bless them, decided it was an adventure. Serena helped settle Owen on the far side of the larger bed. Lily announced, with complete authority, that she would be sleeping in the middle because she was clearly the most important one. Caroline laughed. Small, shaky, real. The first real laugh in what felt like weeks. She lay awake long after they fell asleep. The room was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning unit and the distant sound of cars on the highway. She stared at the ceiling and she thought not about what she had lost, but about what she had. A part-time job she could likely make full-time if she asked. A solid work history. Clean record. Good references. A lawyer who had taken her case on a payment plan. 3 children who were healthy and currently sleeping in a pile like puppies. And a promise she had made to herself on a porch. Watch what happens. The weeks that followed were difficult in ways she is not going to perform for you. There was a month in that motel that stretched longer than any month should. There were evenings when dinner was crackers, because she had spent the last of her cash on new shoes for Owen after a growth spurt left him unable to fit his old ones. There were nights she sat on the edge of the bathroom tub after the children were asleep and let herself feel the full, unfiltered weight of everything that had happened, and then she washed her face and went back to being their mother. What she wants to tell you about is not the suffering. It is what she built instead. Her supervisor at the medical records office was a woman named Terrence, sharp, no-nonsense, and unexpectedly kind, the kind of person who notices things and says them plainly. One afternoon, Terrence pulled her aside and asked her straight out if she was going through something difficult. Caroline said yes. Terrence did not offer pity. She offered hours, full-time, with benefits. Caroline accepted before Terrence had finished the sentence. She found an apartment, a 2-bedroom in a neighborhood that was not fancy but was safe. It was close to Serena and Lily's school. There was a bus stop 2 blocks from Owen's daycare. The kitchen had exactly 1 drawer that opened properly. The bathroom tiles were a shade of beige that had probably been fashionable in 1987, but it was theirs. The first weekend they moved in, she hung curtains. Lily had chosen them bright yellow, aggressively cheerful, the color of something that refuses to be ignored. Caroline put them up, stepped back, looked at them and thought, yes, okay, this is going to be all right. The divorce took 8 months. Daniel had a stronger legal team initially, and he used it. He pushed for a custody arrangement that was, she will be generous, optimistic about how present he intended to be. But here is the thing about fathers who have not actually been doing the work. They do not have the receipts. Caroline had 10 years of being the primary parent documented, verifiable, undeniable, school records, medical records, daycare check-in logs going back years. Her attorney was thorough. The custody evaluation was not kind to Daniel's claimed involvement. She received primary physical custody. He received every other weekend and 2 weeks in the summer. He also owed her 8 months of retroactive child support that his legal team worked very creatively to reduce. They did not succeed. Her family heard about the settlement through the grapevine. Their town is not large, and news travels faster than it should. Her mother called. It was the first time Margaret had called since the night Caroline told her about the divorce. "We're so relieved it worked out," her mother said warmly, easily as if she had been watching from a comfortable distance the entire time, as if she had been quietly in Caroline's corner all along. "Are you?" Caroline said. "Caroline, you have to understand." "Mom," Caroline said, "I do understand. I understood that night on the porch, very clearly." A pause. "We were worried you were being hasty. I had 3 children and a garbage bag," Caroline said. "I wasn't being hasty. I was asking for help." Her mother shifted into a familiar mode, the sighing, the quiet suggestion that Caroline was being oversensitive, that families go through difficult periods, that what matters now was moving forward together. She let her mother talk. She did not argue. When Margaret finished, Caroline said simply that she needed some time and would be in touch. She has not rushed that timeline. Brittany reached out 4 months after the settlement. A long message, paragraphs, actually about how she had been reflecting and how she hoped they could reconnect, and how she had said some things that had come out wrong, and how she hoped Caroline understood where she had been coming from. Caroline read it twice. She thought about the porch. She thought about their stability matters more than your feelings right now, said with that particular tilt of the head, said to a woman who had not slept properly in weeks, said to a mother standing in front of her own children. She wrote back something short and not unkind. She told Brittany she appreciated the message. She told her she needed more time. She said that when she was ready, she would reach out. Brittany has not stopped trying since then. Messages every few weeks, increasingly elaborate, increasingly aware that she miscalculated something significant. Caroline reads every one of them. She takes her time. Nathan has not reached out at all, which, she has decided, is an answer in itself. Her father sent a card at Christmas. It said thinking of you in his handwriting. She put it on the refrigerator for the children because it was their grandfather's handwriting, and that is separate from everything else. 6 months after the settlement, Terrence recommended her for a department lead position. The salary increase made Caroline sit down for a moment when she saw the number. Not because it was extraordinary, it wasn't, but because it was hers, earned, documented, nobody's grace or exception, nobody's charity, just hers. She upgraded the apartment, found a 3-bedroom in the same school district, slightly newer. The bathroom tiles were a shade that had never been fashionable at any point in recorded history, but at least all the drawers opened properly. Lily got her own room and immediately painted one wall with chalkboard paint. She covered it in illustrations of horses. She could not actually draw, but was very committed to attempting. Owen started kindergarten. He walked through the school doors on the first day without looking back, which made Caroline both enormously proud and quietly emotional for reasons she could not entirely explain. and Serena, quiet, watchful, careful Serena, came to Caroline one evening while she was making dinner. She leaned against the kitchen counter. She watched her mother stir something on the stove for a long moment. Then she said, very simply, "Mom, I think we're going to be okay." She was 10 years old. "Yeah," Caroline said. "I think so too." Serena nodded once and went back to her homework. And Caroline kept stirring, and she thought about a porch, about a garbage bag, about 3 words whispered to a closed door. Watch what happens. There is a specific kind of justice that does not announce itself. It does not arrive with a dramatic confrontation. There is no moment where you stand across from the people who failed you and watch the exact expression on their faces when they realize they were wrong. It does not work that way. It is quieter than that. It builds in increments. It arrives without warning, in the middle of ordinary moments, and you recognize it only when you stop and look at the distance between where you were and where you are now. For Caroline, it arrived in pieces. It arrived the morning she signed the lease on the 3-bedroom apartment, her name, only her name, on the line. No co-signer, no one to thank but herself, and the 18 months of discipline and overtime hours and crackers for dinner nights that had made it possible. It arrived in the savings account she had opened the day she got the department lead position, the one she added to every month without fail. The one whose balance now represented a number she had not dared to imagine when she was sitting on the edge of a motel bathtub trying to hold herself together. It arrived in the school calendar on the refrigerator, every event highlighted, every date circled, proof that not a single performance or science fair or parent-teacher night had been missed. Not one. It arrived in the sound of Lily singing to herself in her room, surrounded by her chalkboard-painted horse illustrations, completely content in a life she had never once questioned, because from where she stood, this life had always been enough. It arrived the first time Owen came home from school with a drawing he had made of his family, Caroline in the center, tall and smiling, with all 3 children around her, their arms stretched wide. He had written their names in careful kindergarten letters. He had given Caroline a cape. She had hung it on the refrigerator next to her father's Christmas card. Daniel, meanwhile, had moved in with the woman he had been seeing. That arrangement lasted approximately a year, from what Caroline had gathered without asking. He was currently renting a 1-bedroom apartment on the east side of town. He took the children every other weekend. To his credit, he showed up reliably, and Caroline, who had spent a great deal of energy learning to be precise and fair in her assessments, acknowledged that. They communicated by text, only about the children. It was efficient, clean, exactly what it needed to be. She had stopped expecting an apology from him long ago, not because he did not owe her one. He did. But because waiting for an apology from someone who cannot give it is simply a way of keeping yourself tethered to a version of your life that no longer exists. And she was not interested in living in the past. She had stopped expecting apologies from her family too. That had taken longer. There were nights, in the early months, when the silence from her parents felt like a wound that kept reopening. When she would look at her phone and think about calling, and then remember the door closing and put the phone down. When she would pass the road that led to her childhood home and feel something sharp and unresolved twisting in her chest. Grief, she had come to understand, does not only arrive for the dead. It arrives for the living too, for the version of a relationship you thought you had. For the people you believed would be different. For the family you were absolutely certain would show up when it mattered most. She had grieved that, quietly, in her own time, and then she had made room for something else. She had made friends, real ones, the kind built slowly and without pretense. A woman from Serena's school named Dana, whose dry humor and complete intolerance for small talk made Caroline feel immediately at ease. A colleague named Marcus from the records department, who made terrible coffee and gave excellent advice. A neighbor named Patricia, who had lived alone for 20 years and had somehow become the person Owen asked for by name when Caroline mentioned going downstairs. She had built a life that was not a placeholder, not a waiting room, not a temporary situation until something else came along to rescue her. It was a real life, fully inhabited, with receipts. Terrence had told her once, during one of their late afternoon check-ins, that the most valuable employees she had ever managed were the ones who had been forced to figure things out without a net. "You learn what you're made of," Terrence said, "when there's no one to catch you." Caroline had thought about that sentence many times since. She knew exactly what she was made of now. It was not a comfortable knowledge, not the warm, easy kind that comes from being supported and encouraged and held. It was harder than that, quieter, but it was hers completely and no one could take it, reduce it, or question it. Because it had been built in full view of everyone who doubted her, and it had happened anyway. The children were doing well. Better than well. Serena had joined the school debate team. She argued with precision and without apology, and her coach had told Caroline at the last parent night that Serena had a rare instinct for identifying the flaw in an opponent's logic before the opponent had even finished speaking. She gets that from her mother, Caroline had said. Lily had discovered a passion for painting real painting, not just the chalkboard horse attempts, though those continued with great enthusiasm. She had started taking a Saturday class at the Community Arts Center. She came home every week with paint in her hair and the absolute conviction that she was, as she put it, very talented. Caroline did not correct her. Owen had made his best friend a small, solemn boy named George who shared Owen's deep interest in dinosaurs and his complete inability to whisper. They were inseparable. Owen came home most days with stories about what he and George had decided, discovered, invented, or consumed at lunch. She watched her children grow and she thought, this is what I was protecting. This right here, not her pride, not her point, not her right to be angry. This. She had learned something important in 18 months that no one had told her beforehand. That rock bottom, that specific, terrible moment when the door closes and you are standing on a porch with a garbage bag and 3 children and absolutely nowhere to go, is not the end of a story. It is the foundation of one. You can build on it. You can build higher than you ever imagined, precisely because you have no choice, because no one is offering you a shortcut, because the only direction available is forward. And she had gone forward. Every single day she had gone forward. Last month, Serena's school held a family showcase, one of those events where children present projects on display boards and parents walk the room, holding paper cups of bad coffee, reading things their children made entirely by themselves. Caroline went. Obviously, she went. She always goes. Serena's project was about resilience. She had spent weeks on it researching the science, the psychology, the documented evidence of what allows certain people to recover from devastating circumstances while others remain buried beneath them. She had made the display board herself, hand-lettered the title, illustrated the margins, done every single part of it without being asked or reminded. At the bottom of the board, in slightly smaller handwriting, separated from the rest by a thin hand-drawn line, Serena had written, "Resilient people don't wait to be rescued. They figure out the next step." She was standing beside it when Caroline walked up. She watched her mother read the whole board carefully, the way Caroline always reads things Serena makes with that measured, quiet look she has had since she was 4 years old. "I wrote that part myself," Serena said, "not from a source." Caroline looked at her daughter for a long moment. 10 years old. Straight brown hair, serious eyes, already understanding things that had taken her mother 34 years to learn. "It's good," Caroline said. Serena nodded, satisfied. "I know." She went back to explaining her project to the next parent who arrived. Caroline stood there a moment longer, holding her bad coffee, and she felt something settle completely inside her chest, something that had been slightly off balance for a very long time. Quiet and whole and finished. She does not tell this story because she wants your sympathy. She does not want you to feel sorry for her. She has a working dishwasher, a department lead position, a savings account that grows every month, and 3 children who are wildly, loudly, specifically themselves. She is doing more than fine. She tells it because she knows with certainty, the way you know things that have been paid for, rather than given, that somewhere, someone is standing at a version of that door right now, holding the weight of children, bags, shattered trust, and the last of their dignity, asking for help from people who are supposed to love them, watching the door close, and it feels in that moment like the end of everything. It is not. She promises you, it is not. The people who closed that door on Caroline are still living the same lives they were living 18 months ago. Same house, same routines, same everything. Nothing has moved, nothing has grown, nothing has been risked or built or discovered. While she built something entirely new from a motel room, a garbage bag, and 3 words whispered alone in the dark. There is no sweeter outcome than that. None. She is not waiting for apologies anymore, Not because they are not owed, they are, but because she has come to understand that waiting for an apology is a form of staying. And she is not interested in staying anywhere she had to beg to be let in. She is walking forward. Every morning, she wakes up in a home that she created from nothing. Her children eat breakfast at a table that belongs to her. They go to school from an address that she chose, in a neighborhood she selected, in a life she assembled piece by piece from the rubble of a night she thought might break her. It did not break her. It built her. If someone has ever told you there was no space for you, if someone has ever closed a door in your face when you were carrying everything you had and asking for nothing but shelter, know this: they were not closing a door on your future. They were closing a door on a version of you that no longer needed them. The person you were about to become had no use for that room anyway. The people who say there is no space for you are usually only afraid of what you will become once you find your own. Go find your own. Watch what happens.